What? Did you expect me to come swinging in? Some of us just aren't that fancy, okay? So Spider-Man Far From Home is the latest Marvel/Sony contribution to the overall MCU, and the first movie after the obviously extremely sad and long Avengers Endgame. I'll keep this video spoiler free since the movie's only been out a little over a week. However, I probably will go ahead and have some light spoilers for Endgame. If you haven't seen Endgame yet, I don't know what you're doing here, and I don't really know what you're doing with your life. The movie's been out for going on 2.5 months now. So the movie actually does do a good job starting off, letting us know not only where Spider-Man is currently, you know, how his mindset is and kind of what's going on in his world after the events of Endgame, but also does a good job of kind of explaining like what everybody kind of did a little bit, like to a small scale. I mean, obviously we don't get to see the whole big picture, but definitely within Spider-Man's world, like what happened and how it happened when everybody got snapped away and then obviously got snapped back into existence. And it comes out as some really funny and almost, you know, in horrifying ways. And it starts off with a really great laugh in the very beginning of the movie. Honestly, this movie was great. I'll sit there and say that if you compare this movie to, like, Endgame or some of the other movies that are a lot more deeper or a lot more, you know, fleshed out, obviously this one's going to seem like it fails. Honestly, this is a very good summer, you know, almost blockbuster type, like, fun movie. It's not so much that it's a dumb flick, you know, like the Fast and Furious Sean Hobbs movie that's supposed to be coming out later on. You know, it's not like that, but at the same time, it's not nearly as emotionally draining or, you know, as much of a mind fuck as, you know, other movies have been so far leading up to this. The movie was really more focused on the fun. And sometimes it hurts it, but obviously a lot of times it is what makes it succeed. Sometimes on the more emotional or the deeper parts of the movie, it usually gets kind of spoiled with a joke that's just a little ill-timed. A few Marvel movies have kind of been hurt because of this. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is a movie I highly rate, but I'll admit there was 1 or 2 moments in that movie even that just destroys any kind of emotional or deeper connection you have with certain characters because a joke is uttered rather than just letting the scene really air itself out. And I don't know if that's if that's just Marvel executives saying, "Hey, we need to make sure it's just funny all the time," because they obviously know what they're doing when it comes to like movies like Infinity War or Endgame, which have funny moments but can be a bit darker, and you know it knows how to balance those two out really well while giving you a deep, complex movie, while also being able to make you chuckle or sometimes even laugh so hard you're crying. But I understand, and I'm not upset that Spider-Man isn't 100% like that. However, I will admit, though, that I've kind of joined on to that little bandwagon and kind of hitched up in agreeing that it would help out the movie just a smidge more, because it does kind of focus a little bit more on Spider-Man growing up and trying to find his way a bit. I mean, Homecoming did focus on that, but you got to remember, too, Homecoming is focusing on him being that 14, 15-year-old kid who is fresh off of Civil War, and, you know, and before that was really just using a handmade suit and just kind of saving kittens from trees and shit. He wasn't really doing anything big. And honestly, even with after the whole Homecoming thing, the focus on like with Infinity War, Endgame, he got to do way more big things, got to do crazier things, but it really harkens back to him realizing he's just a kid. And I thought that they did a really great job of contrasting that, and then obviously Tony Stark and Iron Man were huge parts of Homecoming, from the villain, spoilers, as well as kind of being that father figure to Peter. And in here, you kind of get the sense that it's almost like that again with Peter. Peter almost kind of seems like he's got the world on his shoulders. He doesn't really know how to balance it. And most of the times when he looked at Tony as his father figure to give him guidance, Tony's not there anymore. He's just a mural on a wall, or he's just a face on the television, or, you know, whatever the case being is. And you kind of get, it kind of brings out those deeper moments when it does give itself a chance to kind of let it soak in a little bit. Those moments were wonderful, and seeing moments with Happy, and Happy kind of reminiscing. Obviously, Happy's been with us since 2008. And to sit there and see him kind of like give his perspective and kind of give, you know, his thoughts and stuff like that, and kind of try to fill that void a little bit as the father figure for Peter was really, really awesome, because obviously there's a lot of funny moments. And they're good funny moments. They're not ones that take away from certain moments. They're ones that feel natural, that feel like you'd have an everyday conversation with a loved one, or, you know, a friend when you're talking about somebody that you've lost. Honestly, the movie looks fantastic. It's a Marvel film. Do I even need to say this? The monsters, the creatures, you know, all the special effects look great. There's not a lot of moments in the movie that make you look and go, oh god, what is that? Marvel at this point can pretty much do it blindfolded. I mean, they hire the best when it comes to digital artists and cinematography and all the other stuff. They invest so much money into it, and it shows. I mean, now the movie's made how much money again? That kind of stuff makes it where they can invest to make it where they can have this flawless looking cinematography, and they do a great job. I thought the cinematography in Homecoming was really good. I feel like the cinematography in this movie's even better. It stepped up that much more. And honestly, the story is just, like I said before, really, really good. There are moments where it is really touching. And I just feel like it could have had a few more of those really touching moments. Kind of gets deflated by just one too many jokes. Now, there were some that I only had a small chuckle to, but there were a few that I had just huge laughs at. And so, I mean, the comedy does work for the most part of this movie, don't get me wrong. The actors, both returning and new, did a fantastic job. I feel like, you know, none of them really phoned it in. They really kind of, like, some of them that are returning really embraced the characters that they were, Flash being the biggest one. Nothing is funnier than that moment in the trailer when he's like...
He's no Spider-Man.
What is it with you and Spider-Man?
What, he looks out for the neighborhood, has a dope suit, and I really respect him. Sup, buttwad?
Yeah, man, I really love Spider-Man. He's such a great guy. I totally admire him. Oh, hey, dickwad. Moments like that are obviously completely priceless. And, I mean, that's when the comedy is really working, you know, like you feel like it should. Just like those ironic moments, or like I said, those moments of that you feel like that's a conversation you'd have with your dad or your uncle or some other family member. Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio, I felt actually was really good. I really thought that Michael Keaton as Vulture was just about near perfect. I would say that Mysterio and Jake Gyllenhaal, you know, as Mysterio, are about on the same par with Michael Keaton as Vulture. And to be honest with you, they're getting all these great actors to be big characters in the Spider-Man universe, and it makes me excited to see who they get for some of these other ones that should be coming up at some. I mean, even Michael Mondo, I believe, if I remember straight, is Scorpion, which I can't wait to get that, to be honest with you.
I'll tell you what, next time you come to my island, I'm gonna do some snorkeling for you for free. For you, your wife, your children, all your whole fucking family. Come vacation here.
But honestly, I mean, Jake Gyllenhaal is such a great actor, and so you can tell he had a lot of fun doing this role. Much like I said, Michael Keaton it seemed like he had a lot of fun with his role, and that's just why it just seems like they excel in the universe and as some of the characters that they are in this universe. And I had a lot of fun, and honestly, there's a great, I don't want to say twist, but there's a great moment where you're like, oh, there it is. Very much like what happened with Michael Keaton. There's a moment like that here with Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio that makes you go, oh, there it is. And when that finally happens, it was great. But like I said, I'm not going to spoil really anything. I'm not going to sit there and get into any details with the plot. But honestly, the movie, like I said, was a lot of fun. It's great. Like, I honestly loved seeing Spider-Man continue kind of dealing with a little bit of his high school problems, as well as dealing with the fact that his father figure and mentor, you know, is now dead, and that he's got this weight on his shoulders. He's trying to decide, do I really want to be an Avenger? Am I supposed to be an Avenger? Can I just be a kid for 5 minutes? However, I'm not going to lie. I like the fact that we're spending more movies with him in high school and dealing with those teenage problems while he's continuing to grow up that we really didn't get with Raimi's original trilogy. as Raimi really only had him in high school for one movie, and then he was in college and trying to deal with his life and pressures and all that other stuff. But he was an adult, you know. The problems that he faced in that movie seem much more realistic and much more world weighty in a way to a kid than it would an adult. But honestly, in my opinion, Spider-Man Far From Home gets a 9 out of 10. And it gets my badass seal of approval. Really, there wasn't a ton of flaws. Like I said, really, I think that the one thing that keeps this movie held back from being like a 10 out of 10 perfect standing is because they just tell, like I said, one too many jokes. There's some moments that get kind of serious and get kind of heavy, and instead of letting them air out or just kind of, you know, moving forward with it, they have to crack a joke and then go. And sometimes it just doesn't work the same. But a lot of the comedy in here is still great. And the action scenes are fantastic, the characters are really good, and it's just a great, fun movie that you can enjoy, that does tell some lessons, don't get me wrong. It's not, you know, a mindless flick. So thanks, guys, for coming and watching, and let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Did you guys enjoy the movie? Where does it actually rank when it comes to actually Spider-Man movies? I think maybe that's eventually something I'm going to have to do. As seeing as there's now, what, 7 Spider-Man movies? I know that I owe you guys a few things here and there. I've been working on some projects. I've been talking with Hunter. Obviously, if you haven't seen my update video, go watch that, really, because it'll kind of help break down things. But I've been busy with personal stuff lately. So I know that I promised like 3 videos a couple weeks ago, but money constraints, time, and some other stuff have gotten in the way, so I'm going to try to make it up with some other personal projects and other personal videos that I'm making. I actually made another video just about a week ago or so that I feel like is really good. I really like if you watched it. If you haven't already, maybe give me some thoughts and opinions on it. Give it a thumbs up. Share it around. I could always use some more help in that field. But until next time, I will see you guys on the next On The Shelf. Bye, guys.